What's going on, everyone? It's Marco Hanna from PhoneDog.com, and quite recently, HTC introduced the HTC One. It's codenamed the M8. It's a beautiful device made from a blend of aluminum and polycarbonate, and it has a build that only one phone in this whole world can compete with, and that phone is the Apple iPhone 5S. While these two aren't complete competitors in the market, these do cost the same amount of money, and they are flagships from Think Differently companies. So prepare yourselves, really, for the iPhone 5S versus HTC One M8 right here at PhoneDog.com. As I said before, these two are not direct competitors. The main competitor for both of these phones is the Samsung Galaxy S5, which you'll be seeing a lot more in future content here at PhoneDog.com. Design is something these two companies take very, very seriously, and you can see that through the builds of both of these devices. The iPhone 5S may not have some revolutionary design. It's basically the same design from the iPhone 4 that was slightly revised in the iPhone 5 era to accommodate a larger display and a new Lightning connector, and that's about it. Yet its blend of aluminum and glass still make the iPhone one of the best feeling devices currently on the market. Holding the iPhone 5S bare shows you how much attention to detail Apple still puts in their devices. You start noticing little things like the chamfered edges around the home button and the metal accents around the lightning port and headphone jack. It does feel like a very delicate device, but I've had my iPhone since last September and there's not a single mark or ding on this device. Now, partly it's because I take care of my devices and I have seen iPhones in much worse shape than the one you're seeing now. And perhaps it's also due to the size of the iPhone. It's no secret that iPhones have always been on the smaller side of the mobile space. Its 4-inch display is no match compared to 5-inch displays on most of the flagships these days, but the iPhone is the perfect one-handed device, and I've seen many people of all sizes use the iPhone 5S and have no complaints about the display size or even the size of the phone. HTC, on the other hand, shares a similar story, but they were pretty darn late to the party, like 8 years late to be in fact. But nonetheless, HTC has made a piece of art with their new HTC One. It's now made from 90% aluminum, and the rest of the other materials is mostly high-quality polycarbonate for all the antennas. We still find beautiful chamfered edges surrounding the whole entire phone, and we have these amazing, beautiful new colors. It sort of matches the iPhone Space Gray and the silver and also the champagne gold color. I'm still really digging the micro-drilled holes on the front of the HTC One, which means booms down this back, and I'm so glad to find it's here. But many people in the tech industry, including myself, have complained about the HTC One being a little too much on the slick side in the hand. The size is also nothing to complain about. It's a little over 5.2 inches tall in total, and it fits in the hand very well. Now, if you have really tiny hands, this phone might prove to be a handful for you, but it's a pretty nice fitting device. But overall, it's quite a stunning device, and I'm quite amazed how high quality this phone really is. Next up is pricing and configurations of these two. The iPhone 5S comes in at the classic flagship price points. For $199 on a 2-year contract, you'll receive an iPhone 5S with 16GB of built-in storage. For each doubling of the storage, just add an additional $100 to the price tag, with it maxing out at 64GB at $399. The HTC One M8 comes in only one configuration, an HTC One M8 at 32GB for $199. And unlike the old HTC One, it now comes with a micro SD card slot. So now you can add up to 128GB of additional storage thanks to a new slot on the opposite side of the SIM tray. Now let's move on to the displays of the iPhone and the HTC One. Starting off with the iPhone, it measures in just at 4 inches and holds quite an odd resolution of 1136 by 640. No one can answer to Apple's weird screen resolutions, but this is still being viewed as one of the best displays in all of mobile. Plus, Apple's whole Retina movement did push us into the new ultra-high pixel density age. But that also left Apple behind in the dust with their display technology only boasting 326 pixels per inch, while the competition are about to crack 500 ppi. Now, does that make a difference for humans? Well, that's a really tough question, but scientifically speaking, 300 is about the most we can see per inch, and anything above that is basically irrelevant to our human eyes. The iPhone's IPS LCD panel is legendary for being the most accurate and most viewable display in the mobile industry, and and the iPhone 5S still keeps that tradition. The color reproduction is spot on and the viewing angles almost stretch to a full 180 degrees. Also, the iPhone is still one of those displays where the image and text seem to float on top of this display instead of beneath it. The HTC One has a 5-inch display which absolutely dwarfs the iPhone's display. Also, the HTC One uses a similar IPS LCD panel, which means the color reproduction is just as good as the iPhone and the viewing angles are just as good as the iPhone 5S. The larger display does make it way more enjoyable to watch content on the fly though. The displays of both of these devices are exactly on par for performance. You do get way more pixels on the HTC One, and if you're like MKBHD, pixels are huge selling points. But if you're just an average Joe who just wants a good looking display, I can honestly say to you that you won't be disappointed by a sub 720p display on the iPhone 5S. I guess the real question really comes down to whether you want a bigger size display or not. Now we can switch our gears to performance, specs, and real-world usability. If you take spec sheets from both of these devices, you'll laugh your butt off at the iPhone 5S, and rightfully so. The HTC One is tons more powerful. The iPhone 5S has a 1.3 GHz dual-core A7 chip that's built on a new 64-bit architecture, a M7 Motion coprocessor, and 1 GB of RAM. The HTC One M8 has a 2.3 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 801 chip, 2 GB of RAM, and the Adreno 330 graphics chip. So basically, the HTC One has twice the power of the Apple iPhone 5S, but hey, run a simple benchmarking test like Geekbench 3 and you'll see what's what. The iPhone actually beats the HTC One both in single-core and multi-core tests. But how could that be? The HTC One M8 has 2 more physical cores, an extra gigabyte of usable memory, but then let's factor in how Apple has engineered their chip to run on a 64-bit architecture, while the M8 runs on a normal 32-bit process. So you're probably scratching your head. So think of it like a MacBook Air, a plenty powerful enough notebook to run Photoshop, yet it runs a fairly tiny 1.3 GHz dual-core Intel i5 chip. But don't be frightened by this. Real-world usability is where it truly matters, and both of these phones are the top of their class for speed. The iPhone has immense amounts of polish on the software, and it just makes using the iPhone an absolute breeze. There are times where things will crash, but that's mainly due to apps not supporting the new versions of iOS 7.1, and those are easily fixed through app updates. On the HTC side, Android runs smooth as butter. This is by far one of the best skinned Android experiences I have ever had on Android. This honestly competes with the Nexus 5. It's supremely good. The responsiveness of the browsers and the OSs on both of these devices are completely on par. The iPhone has always had the advantage of fluidity through the web browsing, but HTC has mastered that through the help of Google Chrome and really clever software engineering from HTC. Next up are the key features that both of these devices offer. Let's start with the HTC One. Right off the bat, we have to talk about boom sound. I have no clue why it's taking literally this long for people to put front-facing speakers. I mean, have you ever seen a TV with speakers facing backwards or on the sides? These pair of awesome speakers deliver the best mobile audio, period. The audio is clear as day, the balance is just perfect, and the volume is unmatched by any other smartphone. Now, it won't blow up your car with your side view mirrors rattling off, but I can guarantee you it can fill an entire room with no problem. And the beauty of having 2 of them means you have true stereo sound, which means say you're watching a video with sound moving, the sound will actually move from one speaker to the other to simulate the video's audio. Just to show off how good these speakers are, here's the iPhone 5S playing Fanboy Rap, a collab music video that Unbox Therapy, Austin Evans, myself, and a bunch of other tech YouTubers got together to make a few weeks ago. Hear the difference? Next up is the motion launch feature on the HTC One. Since the HTC One is now a larger device, HTC put these launch features to make it easier on those people with smaller hands. My favorite one is just the simple swipe from the right hand side to the left to unlock the device to go to the home screen. You can also swipe left to right to go into Blink Feed, and swipe from the top to go into the voice search, though it's not Google Now. You also have the option to go straight into the camera by just putting the device in landscape mode mode and tapping the volume rocker. But do keep in mind that your phone must have some kind of motion of being lifted off a table or coming out of your pocket for it to work completely. I wish there was a way to turn that off to have it work all the time, but currently there's not that feature. Now onto the iPhone, which is going to be rather embarrassing. The only new feature is Touch ID, the fingerprint scanner underneath the home button. Now while it works really well, it's basically the only new feature on the iPhone 5S. You may call the new A7 chip and the new M7 chip as being completely new, but those are already discussed in previous parts of this video, so we'll just skip over that. So let's move it on to the software. We're not going to take a huge dive in both of these devices since they all have their respective reviews, but we'll go a little bit deeper than the surface. The iPhone 5S at the time of this recording comes with iOS 7.1. It's Apple's largest refresh to iOS, but adds things like card multitasking, a new parallax feature on the home screens, a revised notification tray, and more functionality to the bottom toolbar. Also implemented is this new flat look that goes away from the older iPhones, and the response has been pretty good from just about everyone. It's one slick OS and Apple has it completely tuned into the way they wanted it to. On the HTC One M8 it runs Android 4.4.2 KitKat with a new version of Sense 6.0, and that's HTC's custom skin. It doesn't look like stock Android, yet I actually prefer this over vanilla Android. Why? Well, it's fluid, it's fast, it's responsive, and it adds life to the boring stock Android. Blink Feed 2.0 has been made much better thanks to a widening up of incoming sources, and the rest of Sense 6 are minor improvements that make the M8 run silky smooth. Next up is the cameras. The iPhone 5S carries Apple's 8-megapixel sensor with a new 5-element lens with f2 aperture. It's rated as being the best mobile phone camera in existence, and that's clearly still the case. Now, it's not going to beat your DSLR or even the Lumia 1020, but as your perfect pocket camera, you can't beat the iPhone. Images off the iPhone are so clean and so well balanced, even the video at 1080p can rival mini camcorders for how much detail they capture. You also have a 720p slow-mo mode at 120 frames per second, which could be lots of fun under the right circumstances, or in this case, where poor Keaton from TechSmart takes some Apple Kool-Aid to the face. Ouch! Sorry, dude! The HTC One M8 takes HTC's first attempt at making the ultra-pixel camera cool and tries to do it again. It has the same 4-megapixel ultra-pixel camera, which takes okay quality photos. Obviously, the detail will be extremely lacking compared to the iPhone or really anything that's considered a flagship. It will also shoot 1080p, but it also has a 60 frames per second mode for sports video, plus you do have the addition of doing 720p 120 FPS slow motion video. But the kicker for the HTC One this year is the camera on top of the camera, or sort of. It's actually a camera sensor that acts as a depth sensor, which will pick up the distances and objects away from the lens. What this allows you to do is to refocus the shot after the shot was taken with a feature called U-Focus. This works really well when you take photos that have clear subjects and clear backgrounds, but if you don't, it will be a real struggle to pull it off cleanly. It's a nice feature to have, but don't expect this to save your horribly out of focus shots. Next and last up is battery life. I think I'll keep this plain and simple. The HTC One M8 absolutely crushes the iPhone 5S in battery life. For my iPhone 5S, I have to walk around with a battery pack to keep my iPhone going on for one full day. I've had hit and miss days where I can pull off a full day with no recharges off my iPhone 5S, but it's at its final stages before shutting completely off. When I come home, the HTC One has around 30% of battery life with no recharges, and I can live with that, and I'm sure most of you guys can live with that as well. So now we can wrap up what was a long and enduring dogfight of these devices. The clear winner? There's no such thing here. If you're a person who loves content in Android, you should know the HTC One M8 is a great device. It does offer much more practicality thanks to the bigger battery, plus it has the best speakers on any phone in the planet. But the camera is a major strike off from the HTC One. The iPhone does have a nice complete package, but it's lacking in key places like battery life and features. I've been using these two devices hand in hand for the past 3 weeks, and I've loved every single minute of it on both devices. You seriously can't go wrong with either of them. So please leave your feedback below if you have any questions about these devices, if you're buying them, if you already have them. We would love to see your comments, and I'll be in and out of the comments answering questions. If you have any direct questions for me, please send them my way on Twitter to @phonedog_Mark. And while you're there, please give me a follow there. And last but not least, make sure to subscribe to the channel for much more content, and make sure to give this video a thumbs up so we know you enjoyed watching watching it. So my name is Marco Hanna from PhoneDog.com, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.